This is episode 311 of the Super League Pod. It's the one where we boo the NRL as it looks like all the leave we'd saved until October and November is wasted. We'll recap a week of Super League light on TV coverage and light on crowd numbers, and we'll guess how many games we'll need to make guesses for as matches continue to meet the COVID threshold. Strap in, it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 311 of the Super League Pod. This week it's a Wigan Saints battle this week with myself, Mark, and I'm joined by David. David, we had your son last week, but we've got you back this week.
That's right, the old man's come back in to pick up the slack. Now
Were you scared that you were going to lose your slot to him because he was so comprehensive?
Right. Yeah, he was pretty damn good, wasn't he? He was better than me. That's for sure. Although I think he did soft pedal it a little bit with Alan, and I think I might have stuck the boot in a little bit more, which I did on Twitter during the week.
I think he was a little more even-handed, than you would have been.
Yeah, one man's even-handedness is another man's soft pedaling, but there you
go. Good stuff. Well, it's good to have you back from your holiday, and I'm sure we can have a little bit of a quick catch-up about your Challenge Cup weekend experience as well, but if you just want to tell everyone about our sponsor first.
I certainly will. This episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. Find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn a 5% cashback, and also 1% of your order value will go to the SLP coffers by putting SLP discount at the checkout.
Great stuff. Thanks to Rob's Toy Shop for their continued support of the show. So what we've got coming up on the show this week, I normally write this down so that I'm prepared, but I'm just having to scan through the rundown. But basically, we're going to be talking about how the Rugby League World Cup is back and the significant threat of happening in 2021 after we were told only 2 weeks ago that it was definitely happening in 2021. So that's going to dominate the news, although there's some other interesting snippets of news that we'll need to cover as well, but from some new contract signings through to injury problems and some other stuff too. Interesting story out of the Women's Super League for us to talk about as well, which will explain why we've got no Women's Super League games to talk about. We've got the match reviews to talk about from last week. Again, an abbreviated week of fixtures, but there was 4 games for us to talk about, although only one that was on telly, so we'll hopefully get some perspective on the other games, and then all the other normal stuff, results and predictions, and we'll be guessing for games that won't happen and all of that you've come to expect in recent times. But before we get into the news, I just wanted to sort of give a shout out to everyone to remember to check out the latest SLP short, which was put up during the week, where we spoke to Kevin from Think Fan Engagement about their Rugby League fan survey. What I will do is drop a link into the episode blog post on superleaguepod.com for you to fill in that Rugby League fan survey before they take it down over at Think Fan Engagement. But it's a really important time, I think, for our sport in lots of ways. Scary time, we might say, as well. So it is important that the fans' views are heard, because we're very important stakeholders at this time in our game. So do go and have a look out for that and fill in that survey for them, and then they can push forward with that. The more responses, the more meaningful it'll be, the more attention they'll get when they put it in front of the big wigs' noses. So please do check that out. What I also mentioned on that show, David, I gave a little bit of an update of what we're planning on doing, because I can't really stomach the idea of doing 2 rounds in one show too many times, even though we're not getting any full rounds anymore. So what we're going to do is me and Sarah are going to do a shorter episode That'll be out at the weekend, which will cover the Wednesday-Thursday matches from this week, and maybe see that some of those games are already falling by the wayside. We'll pick up any important bits of news as well that have happened between now and then. And then with the games spilling over through Sunday, Monday next week, and a few other important things such as university deadlines and weddings happening next week, we won't have a show until the Thursday of next week, and then we'll find our way back into a rhythm before there's another two round week, and we'll figure out what we do at the time. But that's what we've got coming up for you all. What about, David, telling everyone then about your Challenge Cup final experience briefly? Because obviously we heard from your son, but you thought he was a bit soft with the way he went about it, so go on, shoot from the hip.
I thought he did a very good job, actually, and in covering our day. We had a super time. I'd never been to Borough Market before. I'd certainly put that on my SLP recommends list for anybody that hasn't been. It's a terrific place down there, Southwark Cathedral. So much to do and see, and I could have spent a lot of money as well as a lot of time there. But we had a terrific day. It's always, I had a good day a couple of years ago when we played Warrington. That was a hot day as well. But it was a super day out, and then capped by a very good game of rugby, which we won in the end. It was also enhanced by the fact that, by the look of the draw, we ended up in the Club Wembley seats with our tickets, which hadn't really worked out before the game that we were in the Club Wembley seats. That has rather spoilt me for all future Wembley trips. That's the only way to experience Wembley, in my view. Very nice bars and loos, and very, very comfy seats to sit in when we were sat down. I thought it was a great game of rugby. I was, as I said in my review, very worried at half time. I think James had it right. If they'd have scored again before half time, I think it would have been a big ask to come back from that. It was starting to feel, quite like the Warrington game a couple of years before, but we hung on. We got lucky with the Roby try. I'm with Ian Smith all the way. It was a try. I think the only debate was whether it went backwards. Even Paula thought it went backwards. Not my namesake, the Castleford coach, thought it went backwards from Percival, who was facing his own line, and the video referee then got the rest of it right. So it was lucky, though. There's no doubt about that. There were several elements of luck, and then once we got our nose in front, it was a big ask for Castleford to just keep going. I think we did a very professional job seeing the game home, controlling the tempo, not really giving Cass a sniff after that, and. It was great. It was great to win the trophy. It's been a long, long time between drinks. Hope it's not as long again. I'm sure you do. But it was a
no, I don't hope it's as long again, David. I hope it's longer.
It was a terrific day out, and I even got to have a chat with a Cass fan getting off the train in Great Yarmouth when I got back.
Wow.
I thought I had sort of taking the mick a little bit by leaving my wife on her own and for the day, although she said the self-isolation was very therapeutic. But the Cass fan I met, he'd left his wife and children that morning in Castleford to pack up and come down to Great Yarmouth. Well, he swanned off to London to watch the game. So whether he got into the holiday let that got, I've no idea. But a very brave decision in my view, that one. There you go.
I was speaking to a Saints fan actually at the weekend, a guy who was on a probably the first grand final we covered. Smithy was on, and I was chatting to him at the weekend, and he said he was talking about how great the atmosphere was around the ground, at the box park and stuff. So I think that's the thing that as well as two great games at Wembley last week, we had we almost enhanced our reputation, especially in juxtaposition to what happened the weekend before. So well done to everyone that went down for sure.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to the stewards and the bar staff and people like that, they were most of them were working the weekend before, and without fail, they were very impressed by the way in which rugby league fans behaved on the day. Hopefully, next time we're at Wembley together, there'll be a much bigger crowd, and it will be an even more of a festival of rugby. But we had a great day out. Thanks, Mark.
Good stuff. Well, from impressive behaviour by rugby league fans, let's move to some less impressive behaviour by rugby league administrators as we move into the news. Okay, we normally say strap yourselves in the intro, but do for this, because this is such a long piece of news to talk about that we've separated it out into sections to go through, and we still will be talking about it for days and weeks to come. But the news that Australia and New Zealand have pulled out of the Rugby League World Cup because of player welfare and safety concerns related to COVID-19. The men's, women's and wheelchair events are scheduled to take place in England this autumn, and organisers only confirmed that the tournament would go ahead earlier this month, though Australia, the holders and 11 times winners, hadn't signed their participation agreement. One of the issues previously raised is COVID-19 regulations and quarantine rules for players and staff returning back to Australia and New Zealand. Of course, half of Australia is in lockdown right now. Australia's borders are currently closed, so anyone returning has to spend 14 days in government-managed quarantine. There are reports that Australia's national rugby league teams want the tournament postponed to next year because those regulations mean players would only return to their clubs 2 weeks before trial games for the 2022 NRL season begins. Rugby league officials estimate around 400 to 500 players, staff and team officials from NRL sides representing several different countries would be involved in the World Cup.
New Zealand Rugby League chief Greg Peters said it was, quote, simply too unsafe to take part, saying the decision to withdraw was made because the safety and well-being of the players and staff cannot be guaranteed to our satisfaction, unquote. He added, there are stark differences between how the pandemic's being managed in the UK compared to Australasia, and recent developments have highlighted how quickly things can change, and indeed they're changing again now. The tournament organisers have moved heaven and earth to make this work, so it's not an easy decision, but the COVID-19 situation in the UK shows no signs of improving. Oops. And it's simply too unsafe to send teams and staff over.
Yeah,
Australia, go on.
And the Australian Rugby League Commission chairman Peter V'landys said, not participating in this year's World Cup is not a decision the Commission has taken lightly, but we must put the best interests of our players and officials first. Note that what they're saying about players, by the time we speak about what the players have said, protecting them is our absolute priority. In the current environment, the risk to health, safety, health and well-being of the players and officials travelling from Australia to participate in the tournament this year are insurmountable. We have again requested the IRL and Rugby League World Cup consider postponing the event to 2022 to enable all players to participate.
A statement from the tournament organisers read, Rugby League World Cup 2021 note the disappointing statement made by the ARLC and New Zealand RL, which may have wide-ranging implications for international rugby league. Rugby League World Cup 2021 were informed at very short notice and will continue discussions with all stakeholders to agree on the best way forward. A further statement will be made in due course. International Rugby League Chair Troy Grant was critical of the decision to withdraw, saying he has been in regular communication with Australia's Rugby League Players Association, the RLPA, and has received assurances that a number of international players and coaches are satisfied with the safety arrangements put in place. Whilst I can appreciate the ARLC's intent to ensure player safety and welfare, I find it difficult to find the words that adequately describe my disappointment with that decision.